In this video, we are going to discuss our very first lesson for chapter 2. Okay, so chapter 2 talks about um, an extension to properties of quadratic equations. So in chapter 1, we talk about how do we solve a certain quadratic equation using different methods. In chapter 2, it talks more about the nature, the properties of quadratic equations in general, and the way we solve the methods we learned in solving quadratic equations in chapter 1 may help us generalize the properties which is in chapter 2. So lesson 1 for chapter 2 talks about the nature of roots of quadratic equations. So when we say roots, we're talking simply the solutions, okay? As discussed before, when we say solutions, these are just the real values of real values of the unknown variable in the quadratic equation. So let's do it. So here we have three quadratic equations, okay? Then from this, let's try to use these examples to get to that nature of the solutions of nature of the roots of a quadratic equation. So now let's try to solve this using quadratic formula. So what is again the quadratic formula? We say x negative b plus minus b square minus 4ac, and that is all over 2a. So if we're going to do that, we have negative b is negative 5, b is 5, so that becomes negative 5 plus minus b square, which is 5 square minus 4, a is 1, c is 6. Okay, so you have 2 times a, that's 2. Okay, and in turn you'll have negative 5 plus minus square root of 1. What is square root of 1? That is 1. So we may just write, aside from saying negative square root of 1, we just said we might write just 1. Okay, that's here. Okay, all over 2. So this one tells us that negative 5 plus 1, the solutions are negative 5 plus 1, that's negative 4, divided by 2, that's negative 2. Okay, the other one is negative 5 minus 1, negative 6, divided by 2, negative 3. So these are our values for the number 1 equation, negative 2 and negative 3. The next one, we have x squared plus 6x plus 9. So x, we have what is our b, that is 6, that gives us negative 6 plus minus square root of what is our b square, which is 6 square, minus 4, what is our a1, what is our 4ac, what is our c9, then that's all over 2, 2a means 2 times 1, and this gives us negative 6 plus minus square root of 6 square minus 4 times 1. 4 times 1 times 9 is 36. Okay, 36. 6 square is also 36. So this one, 6 square minus 4 times 1 times 9 gives us 0. Okay, all over 2. So in turn, even if equals, even if you say negative 6 plus 0 divided by 2, that is still negative 3. And even if you say negative 6 minus 0, because square root of 0 is 0, 2, that is still negative 3. So we have only one value. So the difference between 1 and 2 is that in 2 there are two values, real values. In number 2, we have only one value, both negative 3. So how about number 3? So we have negative, so negative, the b is negative 2. In our formula, that is negative b. So this becomes positive 2 already. Plus minus, what is our b? Negative 2 square. Minus 4a 4a, which is 1. Our c is 7, and that is 2 all over 2, because that's 2a, but our a is 1, so 2 times 1 is 2. So this one we say positive 2 plus minus, this becomes negative 2 square is still positive 4, minus 28. 4 times 1 times 7 is, and divided by 2, and this becomes 2 plus minus square root of 4 minus 28 is negative 24. Oh, take note of that, negative 24. 2. So you can see you cannot actually get the square root of negative 24. So you cannot get the square root of a negative number. You can actually get it, but not in a real number terms, not in the world of real numbers. Okay, so since the square root, the number inside the square root sign is negative 24, and that's negative, this means that there is no real solution. Okay, what I'm trying to bring you is, I'm leading you to an idea that a certain quadratic equation may have, in number 1, may have two real solutions. Okay, in number 2, a quadratic equation may have one real solution. Look at this, we have only negative 3. Or a quadratic equation may have no real solution at all. Okay, so how do we know that? Okay, but by not really using the whole quadratic formula, because we can actually solve by determining the number of solutions, if it has 2, 1, or no real solutions at all. We can actually use the methods that we knew in chapter 1, but that's too much tasky for us to do. So in this case, look at this. If we know, okay, if we know that this one, the game changer here is just the values inside this one. Okay, let me just highlight it, the values inside this one. Okay, so if the value there is positive, meaning if the value there is positive, meaning you'll get actually two values. Okay, you get actually two values. When the value there is 0, okay, when the value there is greater than 1, so any value greater than 0, or any value greater than 0, you'll get a certain value here, this portion. Meaning, in turn, you will have two values there. But if that is 0, like in number 2, there's nothing to compute. This one doesn't make sense na for that. So plus minus will now be neglected, because the square root is plus 0 or minus 0, it's just the same. So meaning, when the value there inside the square root symbol is 0, you will eventually have only one real solution, real value for x. Okay, what if the value there becomes negative? Look at this. Okay, meaning we cannot get the square root, meaning we don't have a real solution. So in summary, we have, if the value inside that is greater than 0 or positive value, we will have two real solutions. If the value there is 0, we will only have one real solution. If the value there is negative or less than 0, negative means less than 0, meaning we won't have a real solution. That is simply the nature of quadratic, nature of roots of quadratic equation. So how do we make it short? We will simply use this. Look at that. So we'll just try to compute that one. If the result of this is positive, this equation has two real solutions. Okay, if the result of that is 0, the quadratic equation has only one real solution, like the example in number 2. If the result of that is less than 0, meaning negative, so if we compute b squared minus 4ac, If the result is less than 0, meaning negative, that quadratic equation won't have a real solution. Okay, there is a solution, but not a real number solution. Meaning, when I say real number, those simply numbers that we use in all types of measurements. So meaning the value here cannot be used in measurements. That's simply the real numbers. So let's try to summarize. A quadratic equation may have two real solution, one real solution, to no real solution. How do we do that? If we call it the discriminant. The discriminant. Other books call it discriminant. The value of the discriminant. So if the b square, so I'll try to use another color. If the value of the b square minus 4ac is greater than 0, meaning positive, this means positive, we will have a two real solution. If the value of 4a minus 4ac is 0, exactly 0, we will have a one real solution. If the value of 4a minus c is less than 0, meaning negative, okay, we will have no real solution. So this b square minus 4ac is what we call the discriminant. Okay, discriminant means it discriminates, not discriminate in the negative term, but discriminate in terms of the discriminant discriminates the number of solutions in a quadratic equation. Okay, it's either two real solution, one real solution, or no real solution. Okay, so this understanding of number of solutions in a quadratic equation will actually help us later in solving complex graphing problems. When you try to graph quadratic functions or quadratic equations, there we can see the importance of this discriminant values, or the number of solutions in a quadratic equation. So let's try to use this in some example. So we have here, determine the number of solutions of its quadratic equation. So what we do is simply solve for b square minus 4ac. Let's try to look at the value. What is b square minus 4ac? What is b? That is negative 4 here. So that's negative 4 square minus 4. What is a? 4. What is c? 1. So let's try to compute. We have 16 minus 4 times 4 times 1, that is 16. Oh, the result is 0. What does our property a while ago when the value is 0? So let me highlight this one. The value is 0. So what does it tell us? How many real solutions in this quadratic equation? Let's try to go back. Okay? Oh, here. Meaning, we have only one real solution. Since the result is 0, this equation has only one real solution. Let's proceed with number 2. Number 2, let us say the same idea, b square minus 4ac. Let's compute for that value, the discriminant value of the discriminant. What is b? Negative 6. Minus 4, what is our a? 2, what is our c? 1. This is 36, the negative 6 square, minus 4 times that, 8. What is 36 minus 8? So we have 4 times 2 times 1 is 8. That gives us 28. What is 28? Is it greater than 0? Is it equals to 0? Or is it less than 0? 28 is greater than 0. Meaning, if we're going to go back, that is here. Meaning, we have two real solutions. This means that this equation has two real solutions. Okay. Number 3. We have x squared minus 2x plus 9 equals 0. So let's try. Let we let us use another color. B square minus 4ac, let's compute for that value. Our b is negative 2. So when you're trying to substitute negative, enclose it with parentheses. So we have minus 4, then 1, then what is our c is 9. And we eventually get 4 minus 36. 419 is 36. 4 minus 36 is negative 32. What is negative 32? Is it greater than 0, equals to 0, or less than 0? 32 negative 32 is actually less than 0. So what does it mean when we say less than 0? Okay, going back here. So negative 32 is less than 0. This means that we don't have a real solution. Meaning, if we're going to get the square root, because that's, remember, this is part of the quadratic equation, right? Or quadratic formula, okay? We're going to get the square root of that 32. We cannot just get the square root of negative 32. Meaning, that is, this one has no real solution. Okay, I think that's clear enough. Number 4, we have b square minus 4ac. What is b? Negative 2, so that becomes negative 2 square minus 4. A is 2, c is 11. So obviously this becomes negative 4, positive 4 minus 88, and that is negative 84. Negative 84 is less than 0. So this one, the same with number 3, it has no real solution. Okay. Number 5. So we have b square minus 4ac equals, what is our b? 10. So that's 10 square minus 4. What is our a? 1. What is our c? 25. So what is 10 square? 100. What is 4 times 1 times 25? That is 100. And that is 0. So what does it mean when our value of b square minus 4ac equals 0? So it's like this one, that inside the square root sign is 0. So the result of our discriminant value is 0, and we have here, meaning this one has only one, you can take away only, has one real solution. Okay, so that's how we determine the nature of roots of quadratic equations. Either it has two real solution, one real solution, and no real solution at all.